When Ibrahim Traoré picked up the phone to speak with the legendary Cicely Tyson, no one could have predicted the emotional wave that would follow. Her reaction to his heartfelt words moved not only her but millions of people who witnessed this deeply touching moment. Watch the incredible exchange that captured the nation's heart. It was a quiet evening in Ouagadougou when President Ibrahim Traoré picked up his phone and stared at the number his assistant had dialed for him. On the other end of the line was Cicely Tyson, the iconic actress whose grace and strength had inspired him since his childhood. He hesitated for a moment, his heart pounding. This was not just a phone call. This was his way of thanking her, not just as a leader, but as that little barefoot boy who once sat on a dirt floor, watching her films on a flickering screen, learning dignity from her performances. When Cicely's gentle voice finally came through, "Hello," Ibrahim froze, words caught in his throat, and then he spoke. "Good evening, Miss Tyson. My name is Ibrahim Traoré. I don't think you know what you've meant to me all these years." There was silence on the line. Then Cicely replied softly, "Why, my dear?" What a beautiful way to start a conversation. What neither of them knew was that someone in the room was recording the moment, and the world was about to witness a story that would make millions weep. Ibrahim cleared his throat, trying to steady his voice. "Miss Tyson," he said, "you don't know me, but when I was a boy in Burkina Faso, we had very little. Some nights we didn't even have food. But my mother somehow found a way to let us watch movies, and I saw you." Cicely didn't interrupt. She listened, her breath slow and even. "You stood, so strong, so proud. Even when they tried to break you on screen, you never bowed. That dignity is not given. It's chosen." On the other end, Cicely's hand trembled as she held the receiver closer. "I carried that lesson every single day," Ibrahim continued, his voice thick with emotion. "When my people asked me to lead them through the hardest time of their lives, I thought of you, and I stood." There was silence for a long beat. Then Cicely whispered, her own voice breaking, "Oh, my sweet boy." She didn't finish because at that moment her tears said everything. In the small studio in Ouagadougou, where the call was being filmed for archival purposes, no one moved. Even the sound technicians stood frozen, tears in their eyes as they listened to Ibrahim pour his heart out. Cicely's quiet sobs could be heard faintly through the speakerphone. Ibrahim continued, his voice low but steady now. "I wanted you to know," he said, "that your life mattered far beyond what you could see. You gave a poor little boy halfway around the world the courage to dream. And today, everything I do, I try to do with the same grace you showed us." Cicely finally spoke. Her voice a whisper. "You've given me more than I ever gave the world, Ibrahim. You've reminded me why I did it all." Ibrahim smiled through his own tears, even as the weight of his words hung in the air. Unbeknownst to them both, the video feed of their conversation had already leaked online, and as thousands began watching, comments started flooding in. "I've never cried this hard in my life. This is what humanity looks like. We need more leaders like Ibrahim," and the story was only just beginning. By the next morning, the clip of Ibrahim's phone call had gone viral. It started with just a few hundred views shared by someone on Twitter who'd written, "This young African leader just told Cicely Tyson how she changed his life. Grab tissues before you watch." Then it was everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, news anchors around the world played the recording of Ibrahim saying, "You taught me dignity is chosen." People shared their own stories of how Cicely's strength inspired them. Others posted about how much they respected Ibrahim for his humility. At Burkina Faso's airport, passengers crowded around a TV, some wiping tears as they watched Cicely whisper back, "Oh, my sweet boy." In Los Angeles, Cicely's assistant knocked gently on her door. "Miss Tyson, you're trending everywhere." Cicely simply smiled through her tears and said, "It's not me they're seeing, it's his heart they're feeling." And she was right. The world was starting to see Ibrahim, not just as a politician, but as a man of soul, shaped by love, carrying his people on his shoulders. Later that day, after a long morning of meetings, Ibrahim returned to his office to find a sealed envelope. On his desk, it was from Cicely. Inside was a handwritten note. "Dear Ibrahim, what you said to me yesterday, I have waited my whole life to hear words like that. You've reminded me that every tear I shed on screen, Every quiet stand I took was not in vain. You've given me something no award ever has: peace and hope and love. You are my legacy now. Carry it with pride and never stop walking tall. With all my heart, Cicely. Ibrahim's fingers tightened around the paper, his eyes moist. He closed his office door, sat down at his desk, and just let the tears come. All the pain, the pressure of leading a wounded nation, the fear of failing. For once, he let himself feel it all. And when he finally looked up, there was a quiet smile on his face. Because now he wasn't just carrying his people, he was carrying her too. That evening, Ibrahim surprised everyone when he walked into the state television studio and asked to go live for a few minutes. The anchor scrambled to introduce him as the cameras came on. Ibrahim sat quietly, his hands folded, his eyes wet but steady. He held up Cicely's letter. "I want you all to see what strength really looks like," he said. "This woman taught me how to carry my head high when the world wanted me to bow." He paused, his breath catching. "She reminded me yesterday that our scars have meaning and our stories have power, and we must never stop walking tall." A tear slipped down his cheek on live television. The room was silent. The camera zoomed in, and millions of viewers across the nation and around the world cried with him. On social media, one comment captured the moment perfectly. "Ibrahim doesn't just lead his people, he leads their hearts and ours." And little did they know, the most emotional part of this story was yet to come. The morning after his emotional speech, Ibrahim woke to find his phone buzzing non-stop. He rubbed his tired eyes and opened his messages. Thousands of them, messages from ordinary people, world leaders, celebrities, children. "You are what the world needs. You gave us hope last night, Mr. President. Your tears gave us permission to feel our own." The hashtags Jerwalk and of Ibrahim and Cicely were trending everywhere. People shared clips of his trembling voice and the tears sliding down his cheek. On live television, one woman in Chicago wrote, "For the first time in years, I believe in a leader again. Thank you, Ibrahim." In Los Angeles, Cicely's assistant showed her the flood of love pouring in for both of them. Cicely, still visibly moved, whispered, "Look at what he's done. He made the world feel again." Ibrahim placed his phone down quietly, but deep inside, a question kept gnawing at him. Was he really strong enough to carry all this love, all this hope, and not let them down? The weight of it all grew heavier, and yet somehow he stood taller. That afternoon, Ibrahim left the presidential palace. Without an entourage, he needed air, he needed to think. He walked through the streets of Ouagadougou in silence, unnoticed at first, but then a small boy spotted him. The boy's eyes lit up, and he called out, "Papa Ibrahim." Suddenly, others turned, vendors, students, mothers with babies on their backs. They stopped what they were doing and simply watched as he passed. One by one, they began to walk with him. No one said a word. The silence spoke louder than anything. By the time he reached the city square, hundreds of people trailed behind him, walking with quiet dignity, mirroring his calm determination. He stopped, turned to face them, and for a long moment just looked at each of their faces. Tears welled in his eyes, and softly he said, "Thank you for walking with me." That single line made everyone cry. Phones came out recording yet another moment the world would never forget. Because for the first time, Ibrahim felt what leadership really meant, walking with your people, not ahead of them. That evening, just as the sun set, his private phone rang. It was Cicely. Her voice was soft but steady. "Ibrahim, I saw the walk," he smiled faintly, still exhausted from the emotions of the day. "I didn't plan it," he admitted. "I just needed to feel human for a while." Cicely chuckled quietly, though her voice broke just slightly. "You needed to feel human, and you made everyone else feel alive again." There was silence on the line for a long beat. Then her words came slowly, full of weight. "You are my proudest moment, Ibrahim. Of everything I've done in this life, you are the proof it mattered." His throat tightened. He tried to speak, but no words came. And so they sat in silence together. Two souls connected across the ocean, sharing quiet tears and understanding. The world kept watching. The next morning, Ibrahim sat quietly in his office, his mind still heavy with the previous night's phone call with Cicely. His assistant entered holding a yellowed envelope. This was found among some old archives, the assistant said. We think it might interest you. Curious? Ibrahim opened it. Inside was a letter, dated 1978, written by a young Cicely Tyson. It was addressed to the future child, who needs to hear this. In it, she wrote about her struggles as a young actress, her battles against racism, and her unshakable belief that one day someone would watch her and feel brave enough to change their own world. Ibrahim's chest tightened. The letter ended with, "If you are reading this, know this. You are the answer to my prayers." He put the paper down, covering his face with his hands as silent tears rolled down. This wasn't just fate, he was her answer, and now he felt a deeper responsibility than ever before. That afternoon, heavy rain fell over Ouagadougou. But Ibrahim didn't cancel his visit to the children's hospital. He walked in drenched, surprising the nurses and doctors who tried to usher him to shelter. "I'm fine," he said softly. "Let me see." Then he sat on the floor of the pediatric ward, surrounded by sick children whose faces lit up when they saw him. One little girl with big brown eyes tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Are you the man from the TV? The one who made the lady cry happy tears?" Ibrahim's throat tightened. He smiled gently and said, "Yes, I think I am." The children clapped. Weakly, some with IVs still in their arms. Ibrahim stood and raised his hand as if making a vow. "I promise you all," he said, his voice strong. "I will never stop fighting for you. Never." The rain beat harder on the hospital windows as everyone in the ward wiped their eyes. And somewhere deep inside him, Ibrahim felt something shift. This was no longer just about leading a nation. It was about keeping a promise. By the end of the week, the world was watching Ibrahim's every move. People tuned in to live broadcasts from Burkina Faso, waiting for his next words. His final scheduled address was set for Sunday night. Rumors swirled that he would step down, that he would announce something heartbreaking, that he would break under pressure. In Los Angeles, Cicely sat in her living room, hands clasped, staring at the television. Across Burkina Faso, families huddled together, radios on. On social media, millions used the hashtag with Ibrahim when he finally walked onto the stage. There was no applause, no noise, just an entire nation holding its breath. He looked thinner, more tired, but somehow even stronger. And then he spoke, his words slow, his voice steady. "I know you've been waiting to hear what I will say tonight. I ask you to wait a little longer. Let me tell you first about a little boy who once dreamed of standing tall." And just like that, he had everyone leaning forward, their hearts in their throats. Music as Ibrahim stood on stage that Sunday night, his story of the little boy who once dreamed of standing tall painted vivid pictures in everyone's mind. He spoke of walking barefoot through the dust of nights with nothing to eat, of sitting on the floor watching an old black and white TV at the community center and seeing Cicely Tyson for the first time. His voice softened. "That boy you see in me never left." In the crowd outside the palace, people wept openly, holding hands. Cameras panned to an actual little boy, barefoot in the mud, staring up at the giant screen with wide eyes. Someone snapped his photo, and within minutes, the image was trending globally with the caption, "He is all of us." In her Los Angeles home, Cicely whispered through tears, "Oh, my sweet boy." And back on stage, Ibrahim raised his head, the weight of his people's gaze on him. "I am still walking tall because you walk with me." After the broadcast, Ibrahim returned to his office, exhausted yet strangely calm. But as he opened his door, he stopped. A boy stood there, the same boy from the crowd. One of his security officers explained breathlessly. "He slipped through. We couldn't stop him. He said he had to see you." Ibrahim knelt down so they were eye to eye. "What is your name?" he asked gently. The boy clutched a crumpled piece of paper and whispered, "Musa." Ibrahim took the paper, unfolded it, and read the shaky handwriting. "Thank you for making me feel proud to be me." The boy's lip trembled as he added, "I saw you on TV, and I want to walk tall, too." Ibrahim's eyes filled. He hugged the boy tightly, whispering, "You already are, Musa, you already are." No cameras caught this moment, but it would stay in Ibrahim's heart forever. Later that night, his private phone rang again. It was Cicely. Her voice was faint. "Weak now, Ibrahim. I wanted to hear your voice one more time," she said softly. He froze, feeling something heavy in her tone. She continued, What you've done this week, what you've given these people, you've given me to a reason to believe the fight was worth it. You carried my dream further than I ever could." Ibrahim's throat burned as he held back tears. "No," he said firmly, "you carried me, and I will carry you forever." There was silence, then a quiet, peaceful sigh on the other end, and then the line went dead. He sat there in the darkness, clutching the phone, his heart breaking, but also full, because he understood now she had passed her torch to him, and he would never let it fall. The next morning, the nation of Burkina Faso held its breath. Ibrahim had called another press conference. Cameras from all over the world were set up outside the presidential palace. When he appeared, dressed simply, his eyes heavy but calm, you could feel the weight of the moment. He stood at the podium and held up a single white rose. "This rose," he began softly, "was sent to me this morning from Los Angeles. It was from Cicely's family." A quiet gasp rippled through the crowd. "She passed peacefully last night," he continued. "Her final words to me were, 'Carry it forward.'" He placed the rose on the podium and added, "So today, I promise my people and the world I will carry forward her dream. A dream where dignity lives, where hope breathes, where no one walks alone." The square erupted in sobs and applause at once, and in homes, in streets, in hearts around the world, tears fell. Because they didn't just lose Cicely, they gained the unshakable spirit she left behind, now alive in him. That evening, thousands gathered outside the palace for a candlelight vigil in Cicely's honor. Little Musa stood in the front, holding his candle proudly. As the flames flickered in the soft night wind, Ibrahim came down from the palace steps and knelt beside the boy. He took Musa's hand in his and whispered, "You see all these lights? This is what she left us, and this is what we must become." The boy looked up at him and said quietly, "I will walk tall like you." Tears stung Ibrahim's eyes as he hugged the child, feeling the warmth of the crowd pressing close around them. And as the candles burned and the people sang, a single white rose was placed at the base of the steps. Above them, stars sparkled in the sky, and somewhere beyond them, it felt like Cicely was smiling down, proud. On the seventh day, Ibrahim stood in the city square once more. This time, he was not just a president, he was a son, a brother, a father to his people. The crowd chanted his name as he raised his hand, tears shining on his cheeks. "I will carry this forward," he said simply, "for her, for you, for every little boy and girl who dares to dream." And then, in a deeply human moment, he turned to Musa, lifted him up on his shoulders, and walked through the crowd as thousands followed, lighting the way. The world watched and the world wept, because this was not just the end of a story. It was the beginning of a legacy. If this story moved you as much as it moved us, please like this video to honor the memory of Cicely Tyson and the spirit of Ibrahim Traoré. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss powerful stories that touch the soul. Comment below. What does carrying it forward mean to you? Share your heart with the world. Let's fill the comments with love. Let's show the world we still believe in walking tall. Thank you for watching. Keep walking, keep believing. And don't forget to carry it forward.